Is this book overhyped because of BookTok? Let's find out. You're about to watch me read Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I'm going to be updating you at the 100-page mark, the halfway mark, and at the end with my final thoughts. So let's go right back to the beginning before I read this book. I think I have mixed expectations for Quicksilver, and the reason that they're mixed is because when a book is like super hyped on BookTok, it's either going to be the best, coolest, most awesome book that I've ever read, or it's going to be a giant disappointment like what happened with Powerless. So I'm a little bit nervous, a little bit mixed about it, but I am still coming in with an open mind. I'm really excited to read it nonetheless, even though I am a little bit nervous about it, but it really sounds like it's up my alley, and so that's a good sign. So from my understanding, Quicksilver basically follows our main character, who I don't think she's a human. I think that she's something else. Like, I think she's like a human mix. Maybe she has like magical powers. I think that's the case. And she works as like a pickpocket, and she ends up going into the Fae world and making a deal with this, like, probably like a deal with the devil, or like the devil equivalent in the Fae world. And she has to, like, I don't know, fight for him. I'm not sure like how that works, but I always am such a big fan of like regular person going into magical world and having to do magical world things, and that's what this book sounds like. So if it's executed well, then I think that it's going to be really fun. But if it's not executed well, if the dialogue is bad, if the world building is bad, then it will be a very rough time for me to get through this book. But we're gonna be an optimist here and hope for the best. I'm hoping for the best. I hope that the book is really spicy. I hope that it's really fun. And I hope that it has me like screaming in just like happy joy, and also just like magicalness. So without further ado, let's read Quicksilver. So I'm now a little bit more than 100 pages into Quicksilver, and here are my thoughts so far. I think I definitely get the hype of this book. It's immediately, you're just straight into the action, you're straight into the world building and the character and like all of the stuff, and none of the spicy stuff or any of that's even happened yet. It's all just pure world building and like character introduction, and it's really cool. So we're introduced to our main character, Saeris, and it's from her first person point of view. And basically she is a thief, and she steals this like gauntlet from this like guardian. And in this world, there's basically this Undying Queen, and these guardians of hers are like super elite trained like soldiers, and they have like these special like armor and stuff, and like you can melt the armor and you could be rich for the rest of your life. And so our main character comes from a very poor part where they get like 6 ounces of water a day, super hot desert like level. And so obviously she can get a lot of money if she manages to melt and sell this thing. And so she ends up taking this thing, and what's interesting is that we learn very early on that she has this ability to kind of like feel metal and kind of like move it around a little bit. I was like, oh, kind of like Mistborn vibes. So that's pretty cool. And then obviously some stuff happens, and I really like the Quicksilver. It's like these portals, and it's like this liquidy metally stuff that you step in. It's like boom. And so I'm not going to say exactly how or why or when or any of that because we don't spoil anything, but Saeris ends up in the realm of the Fae, and this is where she's introduced to the kin of the Fae and finds out that like, hey, these people actually exist and they're not bloodthirsty monsters like the Undying Queen has made everybody think. And Saeris turns out to be really important to this because of her connection with the Quicksilver, and that's where we're at right now. So definitely lots happening. I'm really excited to see, because like the world of the Fae is so different. It's like snowy all the time, whereas the world that Saeris came from is not snowy at all. It's like desert, sun doesn't go down. So she has all these really interesting reactions to this different world. She's like, wait, why is it so dark out? Why is it so cold? What is this? What is that? And it's really fun. So I'm definitely enjoying this book. I really think that the writing is really cool too, because it's like when the character like slips and falls, you can actually like feel it, the way that the writing has been like spaced out, if that makes sense. But yeah, very captivating. I'm really excited to see like where this is gonna go. So I'm gonna continue to read Quicksilver, and I will update you around the halfway mark, so I will see you then. So I'm now a little bit more than halfway through Quicksilver, and okay, the romance and the spice of this book, this is some good spice. The enemies to lovers, like the enemies to lovers of this is really, really good. There's so much good tension, and the words that come out of this man's mouth, it has me blushing. It has me blushing like, And not just the stuff that this guy says, the things that this guy does to Saeris. Oh, yeah. I get it. I completely get it. This guy's name is Kingfisher, and it's just, I'm sorry, I can't with his name. I really can't. At least they call him Fisher sometimes. Like, that's a little bit more acceptable, but it's honestly like an ugly name. Like, yeah, anyways, I digress. These characters, they have really good tension, but I don't understand like why they like each other. Like, that just feels like it kind of happened for no reason. At least like where I am, like it feels like he's just really mean to her, and she's like, oh, this man's so hot, I want to like be with him. And it's like, it doesn't really make any sense to me. And maybe it's just like, it's just an attraction thing, but I don't know. Like, if someone's like that mean to you, I don't know why she would want to continue pining after him like that. Yeah, so there's that. And then it's also just, I'm just so tired of seeing a character like Saeris. Like, Saeris has been done to death as a character. Her whole thing is like, she was a like she grew up really poor, and so she was a thief, and then she's also really good at fighting, and she's really like snarky and all of that. And I'm just so tired of seeing that character every single time. But the world building is really, really good. I really like that you're getting all of this information. I feel like some people, when it comes to world building, may feel really overwhelmed with it, but I feel like that's kind of part of it. You have to get a bit overwhelmed to get into the world, but like this one does it in a very kind of like subtle, small way. So it's not just like, what's going on? It's like, boom, here's a little bit of info. And it just starts off with the action. And as the action is happening, you're learning a little bit about the world. And as you continue in the story, you're learning more about the world. And then now you're learning about like the world that they're in. And like there's these different kind of realms. And like, what is the Quicksilver and how the Quicksilver works? And we're introduced to all of these really great side characters too, who I really, really like. I think, honestly, all the characters in this book, I think are good. I really like Swift. I can't remember his first name, but they just call him Swift. I really like him. I think that he carries the book. I like Kingfisher, except for his name. Saeris is like, she's been done to death. Like, I don't know. She's okay. She's fine, I guess. But I just don't like that kind of character anymore. I just see it way too much. And then all the other side characters I like as well, like the friends and like the people who know Fisher and have fought alongside him for hundreds of years. I like all of that. And yeah, I just think that it's really fun. And there's vampires, like, come on, that's super cool. I didn't expect that. Vampires, like, it's got this really good fantasy-ness to it. I like that our main character is trying to learn more about stuff, and like, we're learning about the world and the characters, and really just how the story's progressing, I think is really, really fun. I don't find that it lags on either. I've heard some people say they find the book a little bit too long and that it could have been shorter, but I think that honestly it's a good length right now. I'm enjoying it. And yeah, aside from like those few minor things about like the romance feeling like it's just kind of happening, and then Saeris' character being just like one of a million characters like that, this guy makes up for it because the things that he says and does. Yeah. So I'm gonna continue to read Quicksilver, and I will update you when I finish this book. So I will see you then with my final thoughts and how many stars I'm gonna give it.
Living in a mansion, gold and gleaming. In my head I'm lost, riches in a dream. Every car a treasure, every meal a feast. Empty pockets whisper, riches in a dream.
So I just finished Quicksilver, and so I have a couple of thoughts. I don't think that this is a perfect book by any means. This definitely had like some typos and some stuff that didn't really make sense, and I think that thing at the end about Malcolm kind of didn't make sense because of what they said about the three, but disregarding that, the book as a whole, I think I did definitely enjoy it despite the flaws. And we all know it's because of Kingfisher, which, okay, I feel like I just cannot say this guy's name. I wish he had a different name, but he was very hot. He was, yeah, every single scene, like, especially the scenes with him and Saeris, like, honestly, that's my kind of thing. I really like it, and I thought that those scenes were really just like, you know, I really enjoyed those a lot. I can see the hype for those scenes, like, yum. And I love the supporting characters, especially Carrion, I think is how you say his name, Carrion Swift. I think that he's a really cool character. I really loved him. I loved everything about him. I loved all of Fisher's kind of like ragtag team of friends that he has. And I thought that they all really did a good job at not only showing kind of like Fisher as a character, but also helping give insight into the world that they're all kind of in at the moment, like where all the Fae are. And so I think that those side characters do a really good job in kind of painting that without Fisher having to tell us anything, and giving you kind of good insights into him and like what was he like before, like the 100+ years ago kind of thing. So I thought that was really nice as well. My favorite part about this book is definitely the Quicksilver. I think that it's such a unique and cool concept. I love that it's sentient. I love that there are different kind of personalities within the Quicksilver and how it's also all just one thing, but then it's also not one thing. And I just found it really fascinating. Honestly, that's what I enjoyed the most about this book. Everything about the Quicksilver, the introduction of it, the mystery behind it, and like how it works with the alchemist. I thought that was just like so fun, and that's the part that I think makes this book different and unique and fun. And I'm excited to see like the rest of like how is the Quicksilver going to be used in the coming books? How is that going to work? What different kinds of deals and bargains have to be made, because that's a really big theme of this entire book. So yeah, I thought that was really fun. But I don't know about you, but I am so tired of characters like Saeris. And you know the type, it's like they hate dresses. Like dresses are the worst thing ever. They like to stab, and they're just like really mouthy all the time. And I'm just so tired of seeing that character everywhere. Like I feel like we can show a strong female character without having to do that type of character who's been done to death. I'm just so tired of it. Please stop it, please. Can we have a different character, different type of character, please? I think that Aelin from the Throne of Glass series is a wonderful way to portray a strong female character who can hold her own, she can fight, and she's like brave and all this, but she isn't like that annoying type of character that I'm seeing in Quicksilver and in Powerless and even in ACOTAR and Blood and Ash. Like I could name 100 different books that have a character like that, and yeah, so like I said, this book definitely has its flaws. It's not a perfect book. I really am excited. I think it should get picked up by a publisher, because it is, honestly, it's really impressive, because this is a self-published book. And there are, of course, a couple of kind of things here and there, but like typos, they don't really bug me at all. There was one where there was just like a bunch of T's, like T, 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 T. So I don't know if that was just like a cat went on a keyboard or something, but I actually kind of found it funny. And I was like, oh, kind of weird. And there was like a missing T in arrogant, and like, there was a missing quotation for one of the quotes, but like those are really small things. And honestly, for a book like this size, publishing it and like writing it and having to proofread it on your own, it's super common to miss these things. So definitely like don't not read it because of the typos. I think that it's still worth it, and I think that this book should definitely be picked up by a publisher. That would be really awesome, and I am definitely planning on reading the rest of the books as they come out, because I think that is just so fun, and I really want to know what happens with the Quicksilver. Like, I don't really care about Saeris' character, but I'm interested in like the side characters and the magic and like what's going to happen next. I will say though that all the hype I heard about this ending and like the twist ending, it didn't really do anything for me, to be honest. Like, I thought that it was gonna be this like big mind-blowing, oh my goodness, like how could this kind of happen thing, but it was just like standard kind of stuff that happens at the end of a book, but still good. Like, I feel like it sounds like I'm being very negative. I'm just pointing out the flaws of the book, but entertainment-wise, I did really enjoy reading this book. And so today we are going to be awarding Quicksilver a total of 4 stars. I feel like that's a bit of a surprise, because I was just talking about all the flaws of this book and the stuff that I didn't like about the book, but
when it comes to, was I really interested in the story? Yes. Was I obsessed with the magic? Yes. Was it really hot? Yeah, it was. And did I just have a good time? I had a great time with it. And that's pretty much how I'm rating this book. So yeah, that's kind of what I think. So it's nice though, because I was scared when I read this book. I was really worried that it was going to be super overhyped, and I mean, it is a little overhyped, to be honest, but not in the same way that other books have been in the past because of like BookTok. But yeah, this one I think definitely deserves the hype, and I really do hope that it gets picked up by a publisher, because this author is definitely really talented, and I really would love to see more of her work. Like, this is like such a fun little world that she's created, and all these different characters, and it's just pretty cool. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is Dearest by Jackie Waters, and I don't usually read horror, but because we're like mid-October now, it's time to read some horror. The thing about me and horror though is like, I don't do well with horror. When it's a horror movie, I can close my eyes and the scene will go away, but when you're reading, you can't just close your eyes. You have to read the scene. So luckily this is a very short book, so that's why I'm like, okay, you know what, we're gonna do it. Hopefully it's not super scary, but honestly the cover is giving me the heebie-jeebies. So if you're interested in watching me read Dearest or any other book that happens to be on my never ending TBR, as it is still spooky season, got my spooky season tights on, and I'm gonna be reading like spooky, cozy, kind of fun books like that majority of the time for this month, and I have a whole video about the books that I'm planning on reading this month, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. And if you haven't already, definitely hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video and you're excited to watch me read a scary book, definitely hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!